the height of British summertime, and that can only mean one thing: car boots. But recently we have had more and more rain. But today, it's sun's out, car boots out.
Get pick up! Videogames Run tricks! Live game hunting! Oh yeah!
Hello again folks, and welcome back to another live game hunting video. And what's that up in the sky? Yes, the sun is finally back, the rain is dispersed, it's time to get back on that grind at the Carboot. Looking for games and retro to add to the collection, as well as anything we can trade into CX for that sweet trade-in credit. Just before we head to the Carboot, I want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, sun's out, Carboots out. Here we go then, bright and early on a Wednesday morning. The sun is out and that can only mean one thing: it is time for the midweek Carboot. Now, judging by the car park, you can tell it is a lot quieter than it normally is at the weekend. But as soon as we got into the Carboot, the very first stand I came across had some gaming stuff. You can see like a box complete Xbox 360 here, some other controllers, some cool piles of games. And this is what you like to see. Like, sometimes you can go to a Carboot and not see anything the entire way through. And we are literally finding stuff on the very first store we came to. I promise you, this is actually the order I did go around the Carboot. Nothing too interesting in the Xbox One games, but the controllers did interest me, especially one of these was really nice, and a controller I do not see very often. Obviously some consoles here, like I just don't really buy consoles from the Carboot too often. Some really nice games here, some really good bits, more of your kind of low-end titles, but these are the ones you normally want to pick up at the Carboot because you might be able to make a good deal. And I'm hoping I can make a deal on this Xbox 360 controller. It is a limited edition Halo 4 one. Here is the thing with the Carboot though, sometimes you don't get in there with your first offer. I did make an offer and the person didn't accept, but I'm going to go around the entire Carboot and swing back there on the way back, see what money I got left to play with, and see then if we can make a deal. But moving on, there was these really cool Masters of the Universe figures. I think some of these are kind of a mix of new and old, very cool to see. But this is the thing about the Wednesday midweek Carboots, they are definitely a lot quieter. This is actually the first Carboot I've managed to get to in ages, just because it's rained so much. There's definitely less people out, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to find something cool. Like these Star Wars Pezzes, I couldn't find a date on these. I think they were 2000s. If it had been a bit more vintage, I might have picked these ones up. I'm always on the lookout for Jurassic Park toys, both new and old, and I think now, because the hype around the newest Jurassic Park film has kind of died down, you can normally pick these up pretty cheap at the Carboot. I wasn't sure if this was an official one, I think it was a third party one. This is the official Indoraptor, but it was missing its tail. Moving on, and some more games here. I just tend to see a lot more Xbox One games than I do PlayStation 4 games. So let me know in the comments down below, when you go to the Carboot, do you more often see Xbox or PlayStation games? I really want to kind of know if it's just me who mainly sees Xbox. One thing I do see all the time is these pop vinyls. This one was pretty cool. I have got like a slight liking to the Star Wars ones. I don't really go for these loose, even though in a way they kind of display better out of the box. So far, it would seem this episode had a very loose Star Wars theme, and moving on to the next tool, there was this Star Wars Trivial Pursuit DVD game. Now, I don't know about you, but I actually really enjoy these DVD games. I'm a big fan of the Atmosphere games, they are really cool, but one thing that's difficult about buying board games at the Carboot is knowing if they're complete. And the problem is, the only way to really judge this is to open them up and have a look inside, but this one just looked so disorganised, I had no way to kind of tell if it's complete or not, so I did leave it behind. A little box of Wii games down here, you never know, you might find a banger, but unfortunately these were all literally the definition of your kind of shovelware, your fitness games, your third-party rock bands, and your brain training. Here we have a PlayStation 4 console. Like I've said, it's very rare I would take a risk on these consoles, but if it's really cheap, it does have its serial number. Let's see. How much you got on your PS4, money?
120, it's a PS4 1TB Pro with the games, and then one thing I got is a HDMI cable.
Unfortunately, for 120, I won't be risking it. But on to the next stall, and we got some more of these Masters Universe Revelation figures, and I actually really like this figure line. I really enjoyed the Netflix show. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. These are something I hadn't seen until quite recently, these pop vinyl badges, which are like £8 to £10, which is absolutely ridiculous. Your classic kind of handheld Pac-Man, because by now I think you can play Pac-Man on everything under the sun, and a couple of Switch controllers. Cool stuff. These are the kind of games you are most likely to see at the Carboot, the kind of games that just hold no value now. The 1 to 2p trade-ins at CX are not necessarily bad games, like Borderlands is good, Sleeping Dogs is a great game, and yeah, they're just the games that unfortunately people are not buying. Moving on, here we have some Rick and Morty comics, and again, I feel like the kind of bubble has more than burst with Rick and Morty. It was fun while it lasted, but after recent events, I think it's a cartoon which is going to die out pretty quickly, which was a shame because at its peak, it was pretty good. One thing that always makes me nostalgic and I love about my childhood was McDonald's Happy Meal toys. I don't think I've ever seen this mask Happy Meal toy. Like, at first I thought this was one of the figures from the mask, which I have seen the figures, but I never knew they had a Happy Meal toy. It's just such a shame, in a way, they don't still make these toys. When you're at the Carboot, you always have to kind of go through these boxes in case you miss anything interesting. I could see this controller from the side, so it's a plastic box. It is one of the Xbox One wired controllers. Now, I do normally pass on these because I'm sorry, but it's just easier having controllers that are wireless. I don't know why the world's smallest phone was there, and for the price, I'll pass. Now, this next stall was absolutely packed with nostalgia. Who back in the day used to collect these X-File VHS tapes? I used to watch this, I think it was on BBC Two, and I always wanted to have all of the VHS box sets of these films, and they came in these really cool kind of boxes which had the X-Files logo on the side. I thought at the back in the day these were absolute peak. I did quite like this little throwbacky thing, a Tomb Raider film cell, but I did pass, carried on. I have never seen so many Tazos in one place. There's a full set there. There's 1, 2, 3, many more full sets of Star Wars Tazos in here. But if you want even more Tazos, down here we had the entire Looney Tunes collection from the Walker's Crisps. Just absolutely piles of them. I think he threw out an offer of 30 quid for absolutely everything. But at the end of the day, you can only have so much nostalgia in your games room. And I don't know, I feel like these are something that's kind of probably best left in the past. Back in the day, finding these in a bag of crisps was absolute fun, but today, not so much. Here we are then, about midway through the midweek Carboot, and as you can see, it's definitely a lot quieter than the weekend Carboots, but hopefully now we are moving into the summer holidays, there'll be a lot more stalls around. But just because it's quiet doesn't mean you can't find stuff to pick up and flip into CX, such as this white Xbox 360 controller. It did look pretty good. I think they wanted a $5 for this one, but no batteries tested. I really just start taking batteries around with me at the Carboots, because if you can pick these up cheap, you can flip them into CX for some decent money, but of course they need to be working and in decent condition. I've been trying to get that black suit Spider-Man for absolute ages. Unfortunately, this person was selling all of those Disney figures as a set, which is a real shame, but check out this clock. This is literally the definition of 90s chic. While these ones in particular are newer, these always give me the kind of 90s nostalgia. These little handheld LCD games. I think everyone had at least a couple of these back in the day. Loads of kind of PC games here. Again, like a lot of other games, these are the ones that hold barely any value, and unfortunately are either going to just sit on car boot stalls for the rest of all time, or just on charity shop shelves forever. Some more LCD games down here, but moving on, something a little bit different. These really vintage comics, and normally I pick up comics quite often, but they have to be something I really like, and one character I really like is the Punisher. And some of these comics, they look like they were super old. These are like early 70s. I didn't have any idea on pricing these. I like to normally bundle a couple together, and what I'm kind of looking for is specifically the Punisher ones, because I really like the Punisher as a character. I like his story arc, I like everything about it, and at the end of the day, I don't want to just collect tons and tons of comics. I am quite selective with them. I don't have a very good knowledge of comics, so unfortunately I do literally have to judge a book by its cover. But I'm looking for kind of the older Punisher ones here. So like that Spider-Man Punisher cover is absolute fire. Like some of the artwork on these is absolutely incredible. Again, I have no idea of the value of these. I think I paid £1.50 per comic or something, which to me seems crazy. Like, these are comics in about a 6 or 7 out of 10 condition for like £1.50 that are older than me. These comics are nearly 50 years old. I think one of these actually is 50 years old, and that's absolutely crazy. Like, I understand with comics, some are worth absolutely tons, and some are just worth like barely anything. This was really cool. These kind of Disney comics, never seen them before, but then again, I haven't got a great knowledge of comics, so it's not really surprising me. It just blows my mind how some comics can be worth so much and some can be worth so little. And like, I'm always looking out for the weirder stuff like this. Another really cool one there, like that's super old. Some more kind of hardback things here, some WWE comics. Like, I never knew they made a WWE comic, and as a wrestling fan, I definitely had to pick those ones up. I think in a way, this is why I love looking for comic books at the Carboot. You just never know what you're going to find. Like, I never knew they did WWE comics, and as a massive wrestling fan, this is just a crossover I didn't know I needed, and it looked absolutely crazy. I can't wait to sit down and read this one. I did pass a shocking fact you didn't know, because in the YouTube generation we live in now, I think there's not many wrestling facts that people don't know. So let's see if we can kind of bundle these together and make a bit of a deal. What did you do on these for? Oh, sorry. On those for?
You have to look at me, I'm dead.
Oh, how much on these for, please?
Right, we'll have to have a look and now see. Oh, you got an actual book one there. They were going to be 125, 120 each for those, and oh, it's the odd ones, aren't you? £6.
Yeah,
That's cheap.
Yeah. Moving on the very next stand, we had some vintage Thundercats comics, but here's the thing, I do have to be fairly selective with the comics I pick up. I'm sure I could have got a really good bundle price on these, but they do take a lot of space, and the games room is of course primarily for games. Not board games specifically though, I've never seen this board game before. I do play a lot of board games. Project Z, the zombie miniatures game, instantly like I'm kind of intrigued by this, but unfortunately it is a game where you do have to paint and put the miniatures together, and I cannot paint to save my life, and to be honest, my thumbs are a bit thick to be like putting these figures together. These are some figures I have really enjoyed recently, these Marvel Legends figures, but again, you can't collect everything, sadly. I would really like to collect everything, but these are super cool, if not a little bit expensive, but I do like them. Moving on, and here we have another console, this time an Xbox One with a third-party controller. Now, again, I will say this, if I can pick these consoles up super cheap, I may take the risk, but I'm not really a gambling man. I did pass on this one because it was in a box, and I thought, you know what, this probably ain't going to be working. How much you got on the Xbox?
I've got 50.
Do you know if it works at all?
Yeah, it's working.
Now, unfortunately, I did pass on this because it was in one of these kind of house clearance stores, and to be honest, at the end of the day, if an Xbox One has been chucked into one of these blue kind of boxes, I haven't got a lot of hope for it. We're near the end of the Carboot, but I stumbled across this store while heading back to look at that Xbox 360 controller, and this box had been hidden the first time I went around the Carboot, and it goes to show sometimes it's worth making a second pass to see if there's anything you missed. So you can see there a copy of StarCraft and the instruction manual. We've got some Xbox 360 games in here, some really good CDs. I'm a big punk rock fan, so the Vandal CD is a great one. Random Hand is a great one, definitely going to pick these up. And more excitingly, we have some Xbox demos in here. Now, I absolutely loved the official Xbox magazine. It was the first gaming magazine I think I bought every single month. That's because this was just such a cheap way to play the games and just find out if they were good or not. That is one thing I miss about demos now. Like, you have no way of knowing if a game is decent or not without going out and buying it. You know, back in the day, we had demos, we had places you could rent games, we had so many more options when it comes to games. Now, we basically have to go off trailers, and normally they can be very deceptive. One last find on the way back to that Xbox 360 Halo controller was this massive selection of kind of gaming and Star Wars books. You can see here we have some Halo novels, some OG Xbox Star Wars games. Unfortunately, this one was empty, otherwise I'd have probably picked that up. Some Mass Effect books, some DVDs. This is the kind of store I love going through when you have a little bit of everything. And again, it's a fantastic way to make a bundle. So basically, I love these kind of video game tie-in books. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. I'm going to bundle a load of these together and hopefully get a good deal. But more on that, back in the games room. Here we are then, back in the games room from an awesome morning of car booting. I'm so glad the sun has returned to British summertime, but I'm sure the big question on everyone's lips is, did I manage to pick up the Xbox 360 Halo controller? And Though I did manage to make a deal, I did pick it up for £15. Now, I actually thought this was the same Halo 4 controller that came with the Halo 4 Xbox 360 Special Edition console, but this is actually the Forerunner controller, and this is a thing of absolute beauty. It is see-through. You can see the UNSC logo on the front there. I did pay £15 for this, but on CX, this is a pricey little controller, and this was in amazing condition, and I just love these limited edition Xbox 360 controllers. Next up, we have some comics, and the problem is I don't have the greatest knowledge of comics. I just know what I like, and unfortunately I do have to judge a book by the cover. So first off, we have this Spectacular Spider-Man from 1988, and here's the thing, it has the Punisher on the cover, and the Punisher is one of my favourite, let's say, anti-heroes of the Marvel Universe, and this is just an iconic cover. Next up, we have another Punisher magazine, this time again from about the same period, Spider-Man and the Punisher again. And again, I had to just judge these kind of by the cover. This one's from 1988 again. Next up, we have a totally different looking comic. We have Comics Feature, but again, it appears the Punisher is back. Now this one again is from 1987, so late 80s Punisher. It's just the iconic artwork on these I absolutely love. And then finally in the comics for now, we have WWE Heroes Rise of the Firstborn. I have no idea anything about this, but judging from the back, The Undertaker, Triple H and John Cena killing zombies, how could I not pick this up? Without a doubt, one of my favourite ways to get a bargain at the Carboot is bundling. And that's exactly what I did with this little bundle here. Now, I nearly missed all of these items because at the first I was rushing to go around the Carboot. Sometimes it's worth just taking your time, looking a little bit deeper, because you never know we're going to miss something awesome. So, this bundle here cost me £9 for everything. So first off, we have some CDs, because yes, I'm the person who buys CDs still in 2023. First off, we have Vandals. You know the title, fantastic comedic punk CD. Next up, Random Hand, Change of Plan, one of the best Scarcore bands of the past 20 years, amazing album. Sticking with the CD themes, we have some PC CD-ROM games. First off, we have Age of Empires 2, The Conqueror's Expansion. It's getting really hard to find these old school PC CD-ROM games, and when I do, I will pick them up. Next up is something that looks more exciting. It was we have the StarCraft and StarCraft expansion set Brood War. Now, I thought this was the instructions that goes with this, but evidently not. But check the back of this. This is what I love about these old school instruction books. The detail. I know this isn't the matching game, but I'm sure I can get a copy of StarCraft and the PC CD-ROM as well. Finally, I managed to bundle this with some demo discs. We have some Xbox original demo discs, and this is the way I played most of the games originally on the original Xbox. You know, I couldn't afford to buy every game that came out every month, but I could afford to buy this magazine for £10, so I could play like 7 or 8 different games for essentially just £5 every month, and then judge which games were best I wanted to pick up. Final little one in this bundle, we have MotoGP 10/11 for the Xbox 360, because I've said it a million times, now is the time to collect for the Xbox 360 as it is dirt cheap. Here is our final pickup, this time from the Midweek Carboot, and it is a big, heavy bundle. You saw that last stall, it was absolutely packed with both video game and Star Wars related books, and as I said, the best way to get a good deal is to bundle. That's exactly what I did, bundling some awesome books and a singular game together. One game I got added to this bundle to kind of sweeten the deal is this one, Metal Arms Glitch in the System. Now, I think this is one of the kind of OG Xbox games I haven't played, and it is an exclusive. It's one I needed for the collection. To manage to throw it into this bundle was a little bit of a bargain. Let's break this bundle down a bit then, and to begin with we have some hardback Star Wars books, and the main reason I picked these ones up specifically is because they have Admiral Thrawn in. Now, if you've watched Star Wars Rebels, you'll know exactly who this is. If not, when Star Wars Ahsoka comes out, you will definitely recognise this character. To me, he's one of the more interesting characters in the newer kind of Star Wars films and TV shows, and I can't wait to see him in Star Wars Ahsoka. Sticking with the Star Wars theme, we have this one Star Wars comic, which I got thrown into the bundle deal. That's because I've said I don't have a great deal of knowledge when it comes to comic books, but one thing I've kind of noticed is any Star Wars based comic books always seem to have a reasonable amount of value. Reasonable meaning they're always worth £4 or £5. I may be totally wrong. The artwork on this one is absolutely brilliant, and to get this thrown into the bundle is a nice little bonus. Moving on from Star Wars to Mass Effect, and I know nothing about these books, but I'm always willing to pick up a video game tie-in book. Let me know in the comments down below if you know anything about these. I just wonder, as there's 3 of them, is it a trilogy of books? So we have Mass Effect Ascension, Mass Effect Revelation, and Mass Effect Retribution. Now, look at these side by side. I wonder if they're like based on the first, second and third game. If you know any more information, let me know in the comments down below. To finish this bundle, we have this massive stack of Halo books. So remember, we got the Star Wars books, the Mass Effects books, the comic, even that one video game, and all of these books for just 20 quid. It goes to show sometimes bundling is the best way. They are severely heavy. So I know nothing about any of these books. Again, I've just picked them up because they're Halo and I find them interesting. So we have this one. So to quickly go through these, let me know if any of these kind of stick out as being one of the ones you'd recommend reading first. They look really cool. They are official tie-in books. I have no idea the order of these books. I have no idea if these are good books, but to be able to pick up essentially an entire Halo library for just 20 quid is an absolute bargain. And I just think we're not really at any kind of Halo peak at the moment. We kind of had the TV series, which wasn't massively popular. Like, the last Halo game has been and gone, but now is the time to kind of pick up Halo merchandise like these and that controller. Halo is one of the kind of final Microsoft games that people still care about, and I think it's a great time to collect Halo merchandise. And we have it then, folks. It was so good to finally be back at the Carboot, and I'm just hoping for more dry weather, as it is one of my favourite places to hunt for the collection. But let me know in the comments down below, how has the weather been in your area? And have you been to the Carboot so far this summer? And if so, what was your best find? I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.